G'day and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Duckville, bringing you some StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action today. We're back on Belgium Vestige, and this time we've got a Zerg versus Zerg. It should be a whole bunch of fun. One of the particular players I really like to see every now and then. You don't get to see him too often, but we'll start with his opponent down at the bottom right-hand side of the map as our red Zerg player here. Currently playing for Team Underrated. It is Aurex. I believe that's how you pronounce it, but he's actually, from what I saw on his Team Liquid profile and also on his stream, actually a Protoss player. So he's been playing around with some of the other races. According to the last title on his Twitch stream, he's learning Terran now as well. So it looks as if Aurex is just sort of learning the ropes of some of the other races, and yeah, we'll see how he goes here playing as a Zerg. Now his opponent up at the top left-hand side, a player who has been around for a very long time, since the Brood War days, competing in many WCGs, I should say, getting some top 8 finishes and then even a top 4 finish. He finished 4th in WCG Brood War 2009 and was doing quite well. It is LZGamer, former EG team member for, again, quite a long time. And here we go, the guy's just talking about Aurex being a bit of a fan of LZ, and we'll see, you know, what these guys are going to pull out today. Zerg versus Zerg, a bit of a matchup that has been slowly changing. I don't want to say it's, you know, I don't want to say it's still this sort of magical matchup where, you know, things are now completely different to what they were, where it was previously just massive Muta Wars. But the big Spore Crawler change has added quite a bit. It not only does it make Spore Crawlers do 90 bazillion damage to Mutalisks, but it also allows you to look for other options. You can look for things like Roach-based play, Roach Hydra, Roach Infester is back. I'm sure many of the Zerg players will remember Roach Infester from Wings of Liberty days, and then you can even get to things like Swarm Host, which I really like to see in this particular matchup. I think soon, once people sort of figure out a little bit more of how to utilize the tactics now that mutas aren't as powerful as they used to be. They're still powerful, don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get the pitchforks out just yet, but they are still something which can be quite a threat. If you don't have enough and you aren't prepared to defend against them and you don't have your own mutas, they can still cause all sorts of havoc, but there are certainly far more options now when it comes to getting some Hydras, getting some Infestors, as we said. You can even throw out a few Queens every now and then. Queens do really nice damage, but also, you know, you can also get those Swarm Hosts out, and I think that, as I said, I really think that Swarm Hosts would be something which people will try and look towards in the future, just because it's, again, a free unit. We did see Broodlords in sort of the more macro-based Zerg versus Zerg games in Wings of Liberty. Broodlords did come about from time to time. I'm not saying every single game, but every now and then you got to see Broodlords, a free sort of unit there when you throw out all those Broodlings. So it is something which, you know, we could see those Swarm Hosts come about again. But let's have a look at what these guys have gotten up to here. We can see that Aurex has started out with his hatchery. We've got the spawning pool and the gas now coming in, so he's going to look up to pick up some speed very soon. In fact, just getting that started as I mention it. He does have just the one queen out at the moment, but the second one just popping out at the main base here. So go and get those injects started. Always good to have that extra larvae coming through, which really helps out with your production right at the start. He's going to scout through and see what LZGamer is up to. It looks as if he's going to scout through and see. Alright, well, we've got standard sort of thing coming out from LZ as well. Very similar to what Aurex is doing here. We've got the Zergling speed. It's just a tiny bit behind. Not a massive amount. Not a big game changer there, but there is a slight difference. And interestingly, Aurex has he's left one of his lings here. We can see here that he's actually just sort of keeping an eye on the ramp. We can see he's going to see if any units jump down there. This queen looking to perhaps make a little bit of a move out, but the drone has found the ling. There you go. I didn't think that guy was going to last too long. I sort of would have expected Aurex to perhaps keep that guy down here or something like that, where he could keep it off to the side. But as you can see, LZ has done his own scouting now. Sees that the lair is on the way for Aurex. You can see that we do have the Baneling nest at the front. Extra gas is now going down inside the natural, and also at the main as well. So Aurex is looking towards the possibility of getting the mutas out. This is certainly an option that he has. He will need to still be careful for any possible pushes that LZ looks to do across the map, but it looks like LZ is going to go for his own sort of Roach Hydra based play here. We can see that he's got the Evo Chamber on the way. Generally, you don't really see this come out at this sort of timing unless a player is going to research Carapace or +1 to missile attacks, but we'll see, because he doesn't actually, he's not going to have the gas to bring in Mutalisks or anything like that, so I would expect perhaps a Carapace upgrade here. from LZGamer? We'll see in just a second. But his Ling's now, again, just scouting about. His speed is finished up. Yep, there it is. The +1 to carapace is now completing. This helps out in a couple of ways. It does mean that your Lings will survive a Baneling hit instead of just all going down in a pile of acidic burning flesh. The Lings will stick around for a little bit longer. It does allow them to compete in battles a little bit longer as well. If you've got that, just that tiny little addition of the +1 armor, it means that it does negate some of your opponent's damage. So he's going to have this +1 carapace. He's going to look to do a little bit of a push here to cover his third base. He is going to get that third hatchery up and running right now. He does not have, okay, he did just get that vision there on the third base of Aurex as well. So these guys are looking relatively similar, but the timings are also just a little bit off. And I suppose actually now it's just completely different. You know, calm down, Duckville. You're not even watching this properly. We've got a Spire on the way from Aurex back inside his main base. He does have that now getting around about halfway done. He does have a lot of gas coming in, building up to around about 500 in total, but it looks as if we will have a little bit of a Ling Zergling battle, and Aurex gets the first hit off. Nicely done. And it looks as if he's going to defend at least for a short time here. A few more Banelings going to build up on the ramp there. It looks like some more Banelings coming in from LZGamer. He's not really going to get too much done here, I don't think. The Link's now coming through. He may get a... I don't think he's going to kill off that hatchery here, but Aurex is also doing his own attacking up at that side of the map. It looks as if LZ dodging and ducking and weaving around, trying to avoid some of those Banelings, but unfortunately is not able to finish the hatchery off. More Lings now coming out from Aurex, and as we can see, both these players getting a little bit of damage on the third base hatcheries, but in the end, not actually killing them off. So we will have the difference in play now coming into effect here. Aurex going for the Mutalist. Now, he does have a little bit of an advantage. Not only is he going to have those mutas out, which help with map control, he can kill off some of these overlords. He should be able to shoot down some of those stray Zerglings that are wandering about the map. He is researching +1 to carapace, which is perhaps a little bit odd, but realistically, like, he would have may have wanted to scout through here just to see what was going on. If he had have seen some of these roaches that are now popping out from LZ, he may have changed his ways there and actually gotten a +1 to attack for those mutas, but it doesn't really matter. In the end, I suppose we'll see how this translates here for Aurex. He does have to deal with all these Lings and the roaches on the ground, but I mean, for mutas, they don't care about that. They're just going to bound their way across the map. You're going to take down this hatchery. There is no question about that. No defense available for LZGamer, and this is going to delay his income quite a lot. We're going to see that LZGamer is going to bust his way up to around about 60 drones at the present time. He doesn't really have a massive economy on his opponent, but that is actually going to kick in a few seconds here. Once these extra drones now come down to the third, they're going to pick up the extra gas, and once he's got that extra gas, he can then decide, am I going to stick with the mutas? All right, we'll see, because, you know, he can still stick with the mutas, but with the infestation pit building up from LZGamer, I don't think it's going to be a hugely wise idea to try and just sort of go, you know, mass mutas, because that one sort of lucky fungal, the money fungal as many people like to call it, and you can be in a world of pain. So he's going to have to deal with infestors. They're going to get their pathogen glands very soon, no doubt about that, and yeah, wisely, Aurex is going to go for a ground-based tech as well. He's got the +1 to missiles on the way. The +1 to carapace is researching still. I don't know, I to be quite honest, I don't know if you'd want to cancel that at this point, upon seeing the infestors coming along at a more ground-based composition of units here from your opponent, but, well, you know, I'm not actually sure, but either way, he is going to have those mutas out. They're going to control the map for the time being. We'll be able to force back this third base here. Sporecrawler is actually just about to finish. Nicely done, getting that one up somehow. Forces a cancel on that third hatchery. The as you can see there, the acid spew from those Spore Crawlers doing 45 damage, which is just an insane amount. Look at how fast they dispose of mutas. Just like, I'm pretty sure it's, yeah, 4-shotting the mutas there. So it looks as if Aurex will delay the third yet again. The Link's trying to come through, but not actually going to get too much done. They... well, I suppose it's not really worth attacking into the Spore Crawler there. He may lose a lot of the Lings, then he loses his ground presence as well, and loses the ability to do these kind of counterattacks that we can see pushing in from Aurex here. Just going to make his way in towards the main base, soaks up a few Banelings, and whoop, looks like they do finally make their way in. Aurex is going to have some Lings inside his opponent's main base. This does free up the mutas to perhaps get their own damage done at the third base. The Spore Crawler is still there, but it is getting very low on health. The Lings now inside the main. 4 Infestors about to pop out for LZGamer, and he is is going to have the, is the pathogen glands done? I believe it is. Yes, it is done. So he can possibly throw out a fungal if he wants and try and catch some of those mutas. But back inside the main, we did see the mining of LZGamer has been disrupted, and now this is the position that Aurex is in. He's got his +1, and he hasn't got carapace yet, but +1 is about to kick in. But he has a ridiculous amount of roaches here. He's going to be able to push into his opponent, but he needs to be very careful of areas such as this, where if a fungal comes down, like whether it be sort of from this position or maybe even from the back, catches him at a choke point, then he can be in a little bit of trouble. But we'll see, because LZGamer is still a little bit behind in his economy right now, down to 44 drones at the current time, and of course that means that he's going to have to get some more drones out before he can get more roaches, but he is going to add in some hydras very soon. We can see the hydra den just finishing up. We'll probably see the groove spines get started up, and then the muscular augments as well. +2 to weapons also just on the way now for LZGamer. So he's going to want to sit back and just try and bide his time. He is going to have to rely on some really good fungals if he wants to be able to win some of these fights, because his opponent is going to be so far ahead in not only the production but also the just the general unit count, because he's going to have the double upgrades now coming out, +1 to carapace, +2 to the weapons upgrades for those roaches now coming about, and Aurex is going to be sitting reasonably comfortably here. He just needs to be very careful of those fungals that we mentioned before. You know, 1 or 2 fungals on either, whether it be the mutas, you know, I would like to see maybe 1 on the mutas, but you probably shouldn't really expend too many more than that. But as you can see, multi-pronged attacks now coming in from Aurex is going to get some damage done here. At the third base, Roaches diving in, going to take out some of the drones. Lings inside the main do get a little bit of damage done, but are cleaned up by a Spine and also a Queen and a couple of Hydras here. And now that high DPS of the Roach Hydra army is going to come into effect here. So Aurex is going to find this a little bit harder to do now that LZGamer does have his forces prepared. There is a fungal, misses, well, relatively speaking, only catches one of the mutas and that Overseer, but I mean, it's, you know, if he can take out some of these units as he can, you know, then that's really going to help out. So LZGamer is sitting up at 149 supply. Not too bad at the moment, but I mean, just that economy deficit is really eating into his ability to move into a much more offensive position right here, because he does have to sit back. As we can see, we do have some static defense going down. Maybe a Spine or something like that would also help out, just at the, or another Spine I should say, and a Spore to help out. But I mean, the Mutalisk count of Aurex has been decimated, so it's not as if he's going to have to deal with that too much longer. What he will have to deal with is a ridiculous, huge, massive count of Infestors. We've got 12 Infestors now out on the map for Aurex, so he's going to have that ability to throw down his own fungals all over the place, and we'll see if anyone's going to be able to clean that up, because that is a huge mess you do not want to have to deal with. And Aurex now with his upgrades up to 1-1, +2 weapons about to kick in, +1 Carapace still on the way, and Groove Spines for his own Hydras has now kicked in. So Aurex is, it's sort of like he's made the transition to the tech, the same tech that LZGamer was up on, but it's been a bit slower, but his economy has been a bit safer, because he's been able to, I suppose it's that old adage of the best defense is a good offense, or however you want to take it, but he has been able to force a lot of pressure on this third base here of LZGamer, which has made LZGamer a bit more delayed in his tech and getting all of his economy operational. But now, with his powerful force, we can see that LZ is going to take out some more of these mutas here, some of them just flying around randomly, trying to snipe off some of those Infestors. Keep in mind, there's only 4 Infestors here for LZGamer, so he's not going to have the lockdown capabilities that Aurex is going to have. And as we can see, Aurex here with a massive force of units. We've got him almost maxed out. LZ is maxed out already, and he's going to approach this the 4th base, I should say, and he's going to come through and try and see what he can do in this battle. It looks like we are going to have a very large battle here between these two guys. We've got Roaches and Hydras and Infestors all over the place. The fungal growth count for Aurex is obviously a very powerful advantage here, but Infested Terrans getting thrown out for both sides. We see them getting mowed down very quickly there, but the upgrades really factoring in here. LZGamer with his 1-2 is all done. The Hydras for Aurex now do have their own 1-2, but I mean, it looks as if the Concave was slightly better for Aurex, but I'm not exactly sure. I suppose he did have a little bit of a lower count of units, given that there are more Infestors out, but he was able to throw down some of those fungal growths. And now for LZGamer, he has to be careful because his replenishment of his fungal growth is going to be a little bit slower, and the actual maximum capacity of his fungal growth is going to be a lot lower than his opponent, who was able to keep the majority of his infestors alive. And now we can see that coming into play, more fungal growth going down from Aurex on his opponent. It looks like Aurex is not going to have the count of units on the ground as in the roaches and the hydras, so he's going to lose in the battle there. LZGamer now slowly started stepping his way forward. The infestors attempting to flee as quickly as their slug-like bodies can allow them. They don't have any energy for any fungals just as of yet, but they will very soon, and that could be very big. If he can get a good fungal down on some of LZ's units here, he should be able to deflect this attack. But behind all of this, LZ has been able to get his drone count up a little bit more, so he's now up to a total of 55 drones. So actually, he's sort of clawing his way back into this. His main is just about done though, so he's going to transfer some of those drones. We can see the main from Aurex is already gone. There is a hive now prepared. We'll see if Aurex is going to transition into anything like those ultras or perhaps the broodlords. I don't know, I'd probably advocate the ultras more than broodlords. This map has a lot of sort of positions that can be, there's a lot of sort of open space. It's not as open as, say, Whirlwind or something like that, but I just kind of feel like I'm not sure how broodlords would work in this kind of matchup here. Perhaps even Swarm Hosts, I don't know. I sort of mentioned them earlier on and then I completely forgot about them. But we can see that Aurex is trying to delay this fourth base of LZGamer, but LZ wisely throwing that drone into the extractor there, but now going to drop it out, switch it into a hatchery, and try and get his fourth base established. So we can see this game has really, it's switched around quite a lot. LZGamer did have the advantage on the ground for a little while there, and we saw in some of the fights that the infest account of Aurex, it's sort of lowered the capacity to fight. I don't know, I'm struggling to try and word that, but it's just because he had a lot more investment in those infestors means that his count of units was actually a little bit lower than LZ's, and LZ then had more firepower and he was able to take some of those fights. So we can see that the economies of both players is now about to kick up a little bit further, with the fourth hatchery now about to be completed on both ends of the map. We can see the unit count now. The Hydralist of LZ up to 34. He's got 26 roaches, 4 infestors, and we can see from the upgrades there that he's up to 1-2 with no 2-2 just yet. That is about to be added in for the carapace here. But for our Red Zerg down here, Aurex from Underrated Gaming, he's got 28 hydras, 18 roaches, and 10 infestors. We can see the difference, particularly in the hydra count there, and also the roaches. So LZ is going to have a little bit of an advantage yet again on the ground. We'll see how Aurex chooses to engage this. Looks as if he is going to approach from the high ground, taking out some of the infestors before they can get any shots off. And they don't get any fungals. They get a couple of infested Terrans there, and that is going to be a big blow to the army of LZGamer. Without any lockdown potential, the advantage that he has here with these hydras and the roaches is a little bit negated, because Aurex is going to be able to move about, and we'll see if he's going to be able to lock down. This is a very dangerous area here. This could be a bit of a trap. Where is Admiral Akbar? Because this could be very dangerous for LZGamer. It looks like a couple of fungals do go down, and they do lock down some of the units, but more fungals being thrown about, catch some of the hydras in the back, some of the roaches getting very low on health as well. And LZGamer, I don't like the option to engage here. He needs to be very careful. More fungal growth's going down, losing some of the infestors is Aurex, but it looks as if he is going to engage from the high ground here. LZGamer does have a little bit of vision. He does have an Overseer, but I mean, he's about to lose that, and if that Overseer goes down, that's really interesting. It was about to lose that, but it looks like a couple of roaches have made their way across to the fourth base of LZGamer. We can see in hot pursuit is Aurex at this point, just trying to trap his opponent in. The infestors waddling about down to the side here, and it looks as if LZ is perhaps, yeah, he's got a resupply of roaches now coming through. We'll see if he is able to take out some of those infestors. It looks like they burrowed just in time, but the fourth base has been taken out, so we're actually on even bases at this point. The drone count still favoring LZGamer, which is quite interesting considering the start of this game. But Aurex, now with a couple of fungals, he's going to throw them out. LZGamer now is completely out of minerals at this point. He's trying to resupply on some more roaches, but will they come out in time? We can see that Aurex still continuing to mine away at his third base. He still does have a little bit of a bank, which is quite interesting to see at this point, given the trades that some of these guys have been making, but he's been delaying this fourth base across to the side. Of course, LZ did the same on his opponent's side of the map, but as we can see, the units starting to change around just a little bit. A Broodlord now morphing in for Aurex, so he's going to add in that that much higher, that sort of a really high DPS unit there up in the sky. Very vulnerable to things like the Hydras, and LZ did have quite a high Hydra count for a little while there, but that has been depleted quite a bit given that LZ was struggling to get some minerals coming in. He's now invested into 7 Infestors, so we're going to have the Infestors coming out. This could be really interesting because we'll see how that's going to interact with these Broodlords. Of course, you know, you can throw down a fungal on the Broodlings or perhaps the Broodlords if you catch a big clump of them. But I don't know. We'll see how this is going to factor in. If LZ can get a good fungal on some of these Hydras and the Infestors that Aurex has out in the middle of the map, then, you know, he can certainly win a battle because the Broodlords are going to be relatively unprotected at that point. But if he's not able to do that, if the Infestors don't get much done, there is only a sort of a meager count of Hydras compared to what he had before. Just the 12 Hydras at this point. Both players sitting on 12, actually, now that we look at the numbers game. But LZ does have 20 Roaches out, so this is on a little bit of a knife edge right now. As we can see, Aurex is slowly going to make his way across with some of his Broodlords here. We do have a couple of Roaches and Hydras just trying to protect the front. Infestors coming to just support from the back as well. Those very useful support units now with their Infested Terrans able to be thrown out, some fungal growths, that kind of thing. Of course, we mentioned if LZ can throw out a really good fungal, then he may be able to dominate on the ground and therefore then take control of the air with those Hydras. But the same thing also applies for Aurex, and now we can see the battle now raging. LZ to the right, Aurex to the left. There's a couple of fungals getting thrown down. Infested Terrans across the place for everyone there. Actually, really nicely done by LZ. His Broodlords up. LZGamer is going to be able to try and shoot down some of the Broodlords, but is he going to make it in time? A little bit of stutter step there from Aurex. Very nicely done. Therefore, these Infested Terrans at the back are not really getting too much done. LZ has he's still struggling to find a 4th base, and there we go. A GG well played. Just really investing heavily in that final stretch there, trying to lock down the Broodlords with some of those Infested Terrans. In fact, I'm not even sure if he knew that those were there, but he did get caught out a little bit. And as we can see, LZGamer goes down to Aurex in this interesting Zerg versus Zerg match, a little bit of a longer one. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Say hello on Facebook as well. It's over at facebook.com/duckfield.casting. And I'll see you guys next time. He's now just got 1 inside the gas geyser. In fact, he's taken 2 out. So we'll see if he's just planning something a little bit fishy here, but the spawning pool not quivering at the moment. This is one sign that you have to be very careful of when you're approaching